I never believed in demons. In fact, I always thought such stories were mere superstitions created to scare people, tales passed down through generations. But everything changed the night I received that strange phone call. It was raining heavily, and I was home alone. The lights flickered, threatening to go out, while the wind howled outside. The phone rang, and I answered without checking the caller ID. A raspy, low voice said just one phrase before the line went dead: "He is coming." The words echoed in my mind. I tried calling back, but the line was dead. I looked out the window and saw a shadow move quickly across the yard. The feeling of being watched paralyzed me. I decided to lock all the doors and windows. The rain seemed to grow stronger, and the electricity finally failed. The house was plunged into total darkness. I grabbed a flashlight and began inspecting every room. When I reached the basement, the door was ajar, which was strange because I always kept it locked. At the back of the basement, I found an old chest I had never seen before. Inside it was an old book, covered in dust and cobwebs. The cover was made of aged leather with strange inscriptions I couldn't decipher. Curiosity got the better of me. I took the book to the living room, and by the light of the flashlight, I began to flip through it. The pages were filled with grotesque drawings and texts in an unknown language. At the end of the book was a symbol that seemed to pulsate with a sinister energy. The voice on the phone wouldn't leave my head. Without knowing why, I began to repeat the symbol drawn on the last page of the book. As soon as I finished, I felt a presence around me. The air grew heavy, and a dark figure appeared in front of me. Its eyes were 2 points of absolute darkness, and its mouth, a cruel and hungry smile. I tried to scream, but my voice wouldn't come out. The figure extended its hand, and I felt an intense cold pierce my body. That's when I realized I had summoned something I couldn't control. Since that night, my life became a nightmare. The dark figure was always nearby, whispering things I didn't want to hear. It appeared in my dreams, turning them into true torments. My nights were filled with terrifying visions, and during the day, I felt a constant sense of dread. My attempts to seek help were in vain. No one believed me, and I was becoming increasingly isolated. It happened when my friend Clara came to visit. I was desperate to tell someone about what was happening. She listened attentively, but I could see the disbelief in her eyes. We decided to spend the night together in the living room, trying to keep the presence at bay. In the middle of the night, I woke up to Clara screaming. The demon was on top of her, its claws buried in her flesh. I tried to push it away, but it was like fighting air. When it finally vanished, Clara was lifeless, her face frozen in an expression of pure terror. Desperate, I sought out a paranormal investigator named Miguel, who had a reputation for dealing with unexplained situations. He arrived at my house with his equipment, skeptical but willing to help. He said he would try an exorcism ritual. He prepared a protective circle and began reciting chants in Latin. The walls of the house started to shake, and the demon appeared again, more furious than ever. Miguel struggled to maintain his concentration, but the demon's power was overwhelming. The demon laughed, a laugh that reverberated through the room. Miguel was sweating, his voice faltering, but he didn't give up. The protective circle glowed with an intense light, and the creature seemed to be repelled, but not for long. The demon launched a final attack, breaking the circle and throwing Miguel against the wall. He was unconscious, and I was alone again. The demon approached, whispering my name, promising I would be next. With Miguel out of commission, I started searching for answers on my own. I combed through the book again and found references to an ancient banishment ritual. I discovered that my family had a dark past, involved in occult practices I had never known about. My grandmother had been a famous occultist, and apparently, the demon had a connection to her. In an old keepsake box, I found her diary, describing how she had sealed the demon, but I had broken the seal. I realized that the only way to seal the demon again was to perform the ritual my grandmother had described. But there was a price, a blood sacrifice. I knew it meant my own life or that of someone I loved. That night, I prepared everything for the ritual. I was determined to end it once and for all, even if it cost me my life. When the demon appeared, I was ready. The words of the ritual flowed from my mouth as the demon fought to stop me. The demon was weakened by the ritual but not defeated. It attacked with renewed fury, and I felt unbearable pain. Every word of the ritual was torment, but I couldn't stop. The house seemed to collapse around us as supernatural forces collided. Finally, the last word of the ritual was spoken, and the demon let out a scream of agony. A bright light filled the room, and the creature was sucked into the symbol on the floor. I collapsed, exhausted, feeling my energy drain away. When I woke up, I was in a hospital. Miguel was by my side, injured but alive. He told me that the police had found Clara and called an ambulance. The demon had been banished, but the price was high. I was marked forever. My nights were still haunted by nightmares, but I knew the threat had ended. The book was destroyed, and I swore never to involve myself with the occult again. However, the feeling that something was still lurking never completely disappeared. Even after the demon was banished, I discovered marks on my body, scars forming strange symbols. The doctors couldn't explain it, which only increased my fear. Miguel advised me to seek out a specialist in the occult to understand what they meant. I went to a distant town to find an old hermit known for his knowledge of ancient magic. He examined the scars and said they were a permanent bond with the spirit world. I had become a portal for malevolent entities. The hermit revealed that I was now a guardian between worlds, destined to prevent creatures like the demon from returning. The responsibility weighed heavily on me, but there was no escape. I trained with him for months, learning rituals and protections. Miguel also helped me, using his experience to teach me how to deal with the threats that emerged. Although I never wanted this fate, I began to accept my role. The visions and nightmares became warnings, alerting me to new dangers. My first trial came when a malevolent spirit began haunting a nearby house. The residents' fear was palpable, and I knew I had to act. I prepared an exorcism ritual with the help of Miguel and the hermit. The battle was intense, but I managed to banish the spirit. The success gave me confidence but also a deep understanding of the horrors I would face. Each entity had its own rules and vulnerabilities, and I always had to be prepared. Months turned into years, and I continued to face creatures from the shadows. Miguel became my constant partner, and together we formed an unstoppable team. I learned to use sacred artifacts, decipher ancient texts, and create spiritual traps. Although our life was dangerous, it was also rewarding. We saved many lives and prevented evil from spreading. But the personal cost was high. I could never have a normal life, and the burden of my destiny was always present. My nightmares began to change. Instead of being just visions of terror, they became enigmatic messages. A hooded figure appeared repeatedly, showing me places and symbols I didn't understand. I shared this with Miguel and the hermit. Together, we deciphered that it was a warning about a new threat. Something ancient and powerful was awakening, and our previous efforts had only scratched the surface. We needed to find a way to stop this force before it was too late. We embarked on a journey to find a legendary artifact that could help us. The clues led us to a cave in the mountains, where we faced traps and guardian spirits. The cave was filled with ancient inscriptions, and Miguel deciphered that we were close to our goal. Finally, we found a gold amulet encrusted with precious stones. The hermit explained that it was a key to a powerful ritual capable of sealing even the strongest demons. But to use it, we needed an even greater sacrifice. We returned home and prepared the ritual. We knew the entity was aware of our plans and would attack with everything it had. I gathered all the strength and courage I had, aware that this could be my last battle. When night fell, the entity manifested with overwhelming fury. The ritual began, and the amulet glowed intensely. Miguel and the hermit helped keep the creature at bay while I recited the sacred words. The final battle was underway. The entity's power was overwhelming. The amulet pulsed, but I felt it wouldn't be enough. That's when Miguel made an unthinkable decision. He threw himself at the entity, sacrificing himself to weaken it. His courage gave me the time I needed to complete the ritual. The light of the amulet enveloped the entity, which let out a terrifying scream before being sucked into the void. The ensuing silence was deafening. Miguel was dead, but his sacrifice saved us all. With Miguel gone, the responsibility fell entirely on me. The hermit continued to guide me, but the pain of loss was deep. Every battle I fought was a tribute to Miguel, whose bravery would never be forgotten. Days passed and life went on, but I was never the same. The marks on my body continued to glow with a strange energy, and I knew my destiny was sealed. I was a guardian between worlds, fighting to maintain the balance between good and evil. Years passed, but the shadows never completely disappeared. Every time there seemed to be peace, a new threat arose. I continued to fight, keeping Miguel's legacy and the hermit's wisdom alive in my actions. I faced many creatures but never found anything as powerful as the entity Miguel helped to banish. However, each battle taught me something new, and the feeling of fulfilling a greater purpose gave me the strength to continue. My story became a legend among those who knew the occult. Young investigators came to me seeking guidance, and I trained them, passing on the knowledge I had acquired at such a high price. We formed a network of guardians, spread across various regions, each prepared to face evil wherever it arose. I felt I was building something lasting, a silent army against the darkness. On a rainy night, similar to the one when it all began, I received an unexpected visit. A young investigator, carrying an old book, appeared at my door. He was terrified but determined to get answers. I recognized the book immediately. It was similar to the one I had found in the basement so many years ago. The young man explained that he had discovered a new symbol and needed my help to decipher it. The sense of déjà vu was overwhelming. We studied the book together, and the young man revealed his name was Lucas, and he was a descendant of Clara, my friend who had tragically died. The discovery shook me, but it also made me determined to protect him at all costs. The symbol in the book was a key to a new ritual, something that could bring back the entity we had banished. We needed to act quickly to prevent this from happening. Destiny was testing us again. I gathered our network of guardians and explained the situation. We needed to prepare for the most difficult battle of all. Time was against us, and the pressure was immense. Lucas proved to be brave, willing to do whatever was necessary. We created a detailed plan, using everything we had learned over the years. Each guardian had a specific role, and everyone knew the risk was enormous. But there was no other option. We had to fight. The night of the confrontation arrived, and the weather seemed to foretell what was to come. The storm raged outside as we gathered around the protection circle. Lucas was by my side, determined and brave. When we began the ritual, the entity appeared, more powerful and furious than ever. The battle was intense, with all the guardians using their skills to keep the creature at bay. Lucas recited the ritual words while I protected him. At the height of the battle, I felt a different presence, a light that was not of this world. An angelic figure appeared, reinforcing our defenses. It was as if a divine force was helping us seal the entity. The presence of the angelic figure gave us the strength we needed to continue. The ritual reached its climax, and the light of the amulet shone intensely, sucking the entity into the symbol. The battle ended, and the entity was banished forever. With the entity banished, the feeling of peace returned. The guardians were exhausted but triumphant. Lucas proved to be a true hero, following Clara's footsteps with courage and determination. I knew he would continue our legacy. The angelic figure disappeared as mysteriously as it had appeared, leaving us with the certainty that greater forces were at play. I felt a deep gratitude for being surrounded by such brave and dedicated people. The battle was over, but the work of the guardians never ends. We remained vigilant, ready to face any new threat that arose. Lucas became a leader among us, and his knowledge and bravery were inspiring. As for me, I continued to train new guardians, passing on the knowledge and wisdom I had acquired. Although my life had been marked by terror, it was also filled with courage, sacrifice, and love. The story of the guardians continued, a light shining in the darkness, protecting the world from the forces that threaten to destroy our peace. And as long as there are guardians, there will be hope.